So what I'd like to do now is have a look at several of the approaches, starting with the validation approach. So the validation method is one that underpins a lot of our approach and is very consistent with the person-centered philosophy. Validation is a key approach that helps us to be person-centered. It's a theory, a method and an attitude. That's important. The theory was developed by a lady by the name of Naomi Feil, who is a lady of great age, and she has developed this method that has become widely accepted throughout the Western world. Her name is Feil, Naomi, F-E-I-L. Naomi Feil. So there's a theoretical background to it, and as we'll see in a video I'll show you shortly, they'll explain the theory of it in the various terms. It's also a method. It's a way of relating with the person with dementia that is respectful of their capacities and affirms their abilities in their particular style of dementia. It's also an attitude of respectfulness towards the person that recognises their reality. And this goes back to Rogers' idea. Now, this was not where she got the idea from, but Rogers' idea of valuing the perceptual field of the person as the basis for genuine understanding. That's what she's doing with validation. She is valuing the perspective of the other person regardless of whether it's true or not. And this is really important. This is where a lot of our staff struggle with understanding how to be validating. And so they will often alternate between validation and reality orientation.
It is hard because if a resident says to you something that you know is blatantly they can't do, like the gentleman who kept saying, well, I can ride my bicycle or I can go out to the car park and drive my car, and you know he wasn't capable of doing it. And it's, you know, it is a struggle to say, well,
Sure.
we know that's not reality. You can't physically do that, but in his mind he can.
So let's have a look and see how this approach might respond to a situation like that. Let's see what it involves. The theoretical background to this is that the older person has unfinished business that validation enables them to complete. The gentleman wants to do something. Unfinished business. There are 15 techniques involved in it, and the attitude is respect for the older, disoriented person, regardless of the truthfulness or the validity of what they're doing, okay? Or what they want to do. These are some of the principles. We'll just go through them. All very old people are unique and worthwhile. Again, very consistent with the person-centered approach. Naomi Feil uses the term maloriented. That simply means somebody who is disoriented. Maloriented and disoriented old people should be accepted as they are. We should not try to change them. Okay? Very accepting, very similar sort of concept to the person-centered approach. Listening with empathy builds trust, reduces anxiety and restores dignity. So these are core ideas. You restore dignity if you listen well. You restore trust, or build trust, if you listen with empathy. And listening with empathy is simply doing what Rogers was describing earlier, which is understanding the other person's perspective. That is what builds empathy, is to be able to feel the way that the other person feels. Empathy means, empathise means to feel with. Feel with. And it restores dignity. Remember what Kidwood was talking about with personhood. we bestow dignity upon another person. So we restore dignity when we relate with them in a way that recognises their personhood. Number 4, painful feelings that are expressed, acknowledged and validated by a trusted listener will diminish. Yeah, the pain will diminish if you are listened to with compassion and understanding. And that's true. We all know from our own experience, hopefully, of being listened to well by somebody, the effect that it has on us. It calms us. Yeah. But unfortunately, what often happens for some care staff is they are more engaged with solving the problem than listening well. The person at the front door of the facility who wants to get out at a particular time of the day. You know, if the staff can listen well, often they can take that situation down a different trajectory. Mind you, once the person gets to that door at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the horse has bolted. The listening should have happened at 9 o'clock in the morning, or 10, or at 11, at 12, at 30, etc. Painful feelings that are ignored or suppressed will gain in strength. And we see that repeatedly. You know that in your own life. If you ignore your pain, eventually it will be expressed in some way. Now, sometimes psychological, emotional pain, if it's ignored, will come out physically. You get a bad back, you get migraines, you get fibromyalgia, you get gut pain. All different ways for us to express emotional reality. Number 5, there's a reason behind the behaviour of very maloriented and disoriented people. There's always a reason. Number 6, the reasons that underlie the behaviour of maloriented or disoriented very old people can be one or more of the basic human needs. Again, this is stating the obvious. Number 7, early learned behaviours return when verbal ability and recent memory fails. This is not complex stuff. Personal symbols used by maloriented and disoriented elderly people, or things that represent people, things or concepts from the past that are laden with emotion. Number 9, maloriented and disoriented older people live on several levels of awareness, often at the same time. So they can be aware of what's going on currently, but also aware of the past. And they can be living as somebody who is feeling 8 years old, but at the same time aware that they had children. And they can hold these multiple views at the same time and in the same conversation, and it's okay. It all makes sense. Number 10, when the 5 senses fail, maloriented and disoriented elderly stimulate and use their inner senses. They see with their mind's eye and hear sounds from the past. And we know that certainly inner experience seems to become much more important to the person. 11, events, emotions, colours, sounds, smells, tastes and images create emotions, which in turn trigger similar emotions experienced in the past. So the current experience triggers off the past experience and the memory of it. They react in the present time in the same way they did in the past. And I think we've all witnessed that with people we care for.